All right, we're about to dive into a powerful and, let's be honest, a really misunderstood archetype. For this explainer, we're going to set aside all the religious stuff, all the baggage, and just look at the Luciferian figure as a specific personality profile, all based on one modern philosophical text.
So here's the big question to kick things off. What if Luciferian had nothing to do with religion or worship, but instead it described a very specific type of person? A unique set of traits and a particular way of looking at the world. Well, that's the exact lens we're going to be using today.
So, where are we getting all this from? Our source material is a book by Michael W. Ford called Apotheosis. And right away, it frames this whole concept not as a religion, but as a philosophy, one that's completely focused on self-development and what you might call radical self-accountability. Okay, let's get right into the heart of it. The book basically argues that this entire philosophy is built on just a handful of core character traits. You should think of them less like a set of rules you have to follow, and more like the essential DNA of this whole archetype.
So the book breaks this profile down into 5 core traits. We've got the Maverick, the achiever, the non-dogmatic thinker, the intellectual, and the tolerant individual. Let's dig into what each of these actually means according to the text.
First up, the Maverick. At its core, this is really just about being a nonconformist. It describes somebody who just doesn't accept things at face value. They have this built-in need to question absolutely everything, and they're the ones who naturally swim against the current of what everyone else is thinking. Next, we have the achiever. Now, this isn't just about, wanting to be successful. It's about having a real internal fire, a deep personal drive to smash through obstacles and see a challenge all the way to the end. For this type, the real reward comes from the victory itself, from forcing something to happen through sheer will. Now, this is where it gets really fascinating, how this archetype thinks about their own beliefs. They are non-dogmatic. So what does that mean? It means they can have really strong opinions, but, and this is the key part, they get that those opinions are not absolute, unchangeable truths. It's a complete embrace of being intellectually flexible, the idea that your beliefs should evolve as you learn more. And of course, that flexibility leads right into the next trait, the intellectual. Now, this is not just about being smart. It's about having a genuine love for the act of learning, of doing the research, of looking inward. The whole point is to constantly be growing your knowledge base and, maybe most importantly, to always be challenging your own thought process. And finally, we have tolerance. The book defines this in a really specific way. It's not just about passively putting up with other people. It's about making an active effort to understand them. It's respecting that other people have different ways of living and thinking and trying to find some common ground. Unless you're directly provoked, of course. So, you might be wondering, how do all these different traits tie together? Well, they aren't just a random list of personality quirks. They all serve one single unifying idea, this massive pillar of accountability. The philosophy's absolute core principle is this: you are the god of your own world. Now, hold on. That's obviously not meant in a literal religious sense. It's a really powerful metaphor for having complete control over your own life and taking total responsibility for it. This quote really gets right to the heart of it. Being the god of your world means you take absolute ownership of everything. You get all the credit when you succeed, but you also have to carry all the responsibility when you fail. There is no one else to thank and no one else to blame. So the book draws a really sharp line in the sand between two totally different mindsets. On one side, you have the Luciferian model. You take the credit, you take the blame, and you use every mistake to make yourself sharper. And on the other side, you've got a much more common approach, chalking up success to luck or favors, blaming failure on something or someone else, and basically just waiting around to be saved from the consequences of your own actions. Okay, so this path of radical self-reliance leads to something that seems, well, like a total paradox. We're talking about a very delicate balance between two forces that seem like complete opposites: ruthlessness and compassion. So, let's look at the first side of this coin. The book has a very direct, almost harsh view on dealing with your opposition. It pretty much says that overcoming your enemies is a natural part of life that actually makes you stronger and more insightful. The idea is to tackle conflict head-on, conquer your obstacles without any guilt, and honor what it calls a warlike essence. But that's not the whole story, not by a long shot. The text is very, very clear that this conquering nature has to be balanced with what it calls the chosen emotions of sympathy and compassion. And notice that word, chosen. It's critical. It implies these emotions are something you apply with purpose and intention, not just, feeling sorry for everyone all the time. So how is that choice made? Well, according to this, compassion is something you direct towards people you're loyal to, your friends, your family, and you give it with a very specific goal in mind, to help them learn how to help themselves. The whole point is to empower them, not to create a situation where they become dependent on you. So, where is all of this actually headed? These traits, this radical accountability, this weird balance of aggression and empathy, they aren't really the goals themselves. According to the book, they are the tools you use for a much, much bigger journey. The book calls this journey the triad of the morning star. It's a 3-step process. It starts with liberation from all the beliefs that hold you back. Then it moves to illumination, which you get through knowledge. And it all leads to the final step, apotheosis. This is the ultimate goal, a state of constant self-improvement, where you ultimately become the master of your own destiny, the god of your own world. And all of this brings us to one final, and I think pretty provocative question. After seeing this whole profile laid out, what do you think comes first? Does a philosophy like this one actually create the person? Or do people who already have these traits deep down just naturally find their way to a philosophy that finally gives a name to who they already are?